Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Smart Energy Podcast, your go-to source for insights into the clean energy and e-mobility industry. I am Santosh Khartare, editor of Smart Energy Magazine and your host. In each episode, we bring together key industry leaders, policymakers, and entrepreneurs to discuss their pivotal role in advancing sustainability. Our guests share their efforts to promote clean energy and e-mobility, contributing to the climate and clean energy initiatives and the growth of the industry. In this episode, we are excited to welcome Mr. Sunil Mysore as our guest. He will be sharing with us his insights and contribution to furthering the adoption of clean energy. Join me in welcoming him as we explore his journey and the significant impact of his work on the clean energy landscape. Welcome, Mr. Sunil Mysore, and thank you for joining us on this episode.
Thank you, sir.
Before we start our conversation, I would like to introduce Mr. Sunil to all our viewers. Sunil Mysore is an accomplished engineer and sustainability advocate with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and a certified rooftop solar engineer from the National Institute of Solar Energy, Gurgaon. He has dedicated his career to decentralized energy and water management with a focus on rooftop solar energy, agrovoltaics, and rainwater harvesting. As the founder of Hinren Engineering, Sunil is at the forefront of promoting the innovative concept of sustainable roof, which leverages rooftop to combat climate change and foster sustainable, healthy living. His work aims to make sustainability accessible and practical for everyone, ensuring that simple solutions are widely adopted. Beyond his professional endeavors, Sunil is also a passionate blogger, YouTuber, traveler, and photographer, sharing his insights and experience to inspire others in the journey towards a sustainable future. So, to start with, can you tell us about your journey and what inspired you to focus on sustainability? How did Hinren Engineering come into existence, and what is the core mission of your company?
So I was always passionate about environment and I wanted to do something about it. So the idea that I should start a company which actually implements sustainability initiative is what I actually thought. So and I wanted to do it in a full for-profit commercial model, like an entrepreneurial model, so that I am also motivated and things also happen on the ground, and I'm also accountable for things which are right and for things which are also gone wrong. So that's how the company started, and I do believe that decentralization is the way ahead, or rather, decentralization is the first step towards decarbonization. The production and consumption of energy, water, and nutrition, if it happens as locally as possible, I believe it is more environmentally sustainable as well. So that's the model in which the company was actually conceived, and that's what we are trying to actually do. We are trying to popularize the whole idea of uh, of decentralization. That is the hyper local term for decentralization is the roof. That is the roof, as you say, that we leverage the roof to meet our energy, water requirement, and we also can manage our waste locally and convert our organic waste into either compost or biogas, and again generate energy from there. So we could, at least from a householder's perspective, most of our energy, water, and nutritional needs can be actually met right from the roof. That's what we are trying to work on.
So, can you explain the concept of sustainable roof and how can rooftops be transformed into tools for sustainable and healthy living?
Well, like exactly, like how did we come about this tool, or how did we actually start something called rooftop solar? Because the sunlight falls on the roof, so we said, okay, we can put a solar panel there so that we can harness the sunlight and convert it into energy. It is the same thing. Water is also energy, so that we also receive water in terms of rain. So the water energy falling on the roof can also help you cultivate your own crops. For example, you can grow all your day-to-day requirement microgreens, vegetables right on the roof. Since you are getting sunlight on the roof, you can also grow your own food on the roof. When we actually put solar panels, people do tell me that we don't have space to grow our vegetation. So a term that is now becoming very popular is an agrivoltaics or agrovoltaics. That is, you put up some kind of crops below the solar panels. So you can actually meet plenty of your nutritional needs by actually growing your food crops below the solar panels. And every household, like, generate quite a bit of organic waste in terms of vegetable waste or fruit waste or food waste. So what one can also do is we can put a biogas digester on the rooftop or a composter on the rooftop. Composting is slightly easier, or you can do a biogas digester on the rooftop. So not only is your electricity requirement being met by rooftop solar, you can also have a digester to actually convert your wet waste into usable cooking gas. And the byproduct from this digester actually is a very nutrient rich slurry, which you can actually use it to again grow your crop. So that completes the cycle. So if we actually do all this, like, if you are able to use all our rainwater, all our gray water, we can perhaps live off the grid in terms of water requirement. And energy in terms of solar, as people already know, it is becoming very popular. The on-grid systems, the hybrid systems, the off-grid systems are now being talked almost every day. So we can be easily energy and water independent, provided we put a little bit of effort in designing the system in a slightly more nuanced way. So that's the whole concept of a sustainable roof or a sustenance roof, where the roof can meet all our vital requirement. But of course, this cannot perhaps work in the context of an apartment or a very clustered kind of a living. But from householder's perspective, an independent house, okay, we can actually popularize this, or rather, we can do a slightly more structured research on this and come up with a completely sustainable or a off-grid model.
Thanks a lot for introducing this concept and updating all our viewers. So you have always emphasized the need for simple solutions to address sustainability. So how to ensure that sustainable solutions are accessible and not seen elite?
I feel like sometimes I feel that the sustainability is becoming a kind of an elitist affair. Like, we are having very fancy conferences, big meetings, and nothing really seems to be coming out of it. Like, we need actionable points, we need actionable outcomes from these meetings. The simple thing we can do, we can keep a few plants in the house. Start composting your leaf waste, start composting your wet waste, then paint your roof white so that some the temperature inside the building gets reduced. Stop using plastic, stop carrying buying bottled water, and start using at least for local commute, start walking. None of them require any kind of special knowledge or exclusive knowledge. Lot of things are very simple. Like, we just need to act. That's what I feel. In my opinion, we all are a part of a solution. So we all of us need to act. There's a lot of knowledge coming up from the academia, from all these meetings and things like that. But things need to happen on the ground. We all need to act.
You mentioned that rainwater harvesting is a no-brainer, and apart from that, you are also mentioning a lot of things that are might be many of our viewers are regularly doing such things which are sustainable. So, what nuances should people be aware of for effective when we are speaking about rainwater harvesting? Uh, Aware for effective rainwater harvesting, and can rainwater alone meet most of the city's needs?
See, when we talk about rainwater harvesting, we can actually split into two parts. That is the rooftop rainwater harvesting and the water which runs off from the ground or the road or something else. The rooftop rainwater harvesting is very, very simple. The water actually which falls on the roof is generally very clean. The only problem is the contamination is picked up from the catchment. So if we keep the catchment clean, we have actually won half the battle. If you can separate out the first 5 minutes of water using a first aid separator or some kind of a plumbing arrangement or a sedimentation tank. So first 5 minutes will wash your roof and the subsequent water will be relatively clean. And pass it through, there are some off the counter filters available, or one can use an activated carbon or even a regular raw charcoal and gravel filter the water and store it for use. One needs to, if you are drinking that water, it's better to pass it through a UV filter before actually using it for consumption. For non-potable use, there is no problem at all. In terms of numbers, I already told you, if you look at the case of Bangalore, every square feet per year receives 90 liters of water. That's quite a bit. You can do the math. For example, if you have a house of 100 square meter, we will have close to a lakh of liter of water coming down from there. Suppose our requirement is say about 500 liters. So you can do 1 lakh divided by 500. So we can meet that many days of usage. We need to plan it properly. One thing is the supply, that is the rainwater. Other thing is the consumption. We also need to be little cognizant about how much water we actually consume. Suppose if you are looking at 100 liters per person per day, it's a decent amount of demand. So we can meet quite a bit of our consumption. From a household perspective, you can thrive close to about 4 to 5 months of the year only through rainwater. That is, I'm talking about southern India where the rainfall is actually pretty decently spread out. For example, the same argument may not hold good for Delhi, where the rainfall only happens in July. Okay, you can't store all the water for throughout the year. So there you can think of recharge, or you can partly use and partly recharge. But the other important concept is the so-called wastewater. When we are actually planning the house or planning the building, if we can plan it in a way that our gray water, that is the non-toilet water, if it can channelize in a separate conduit, we can treat that water and again use it for flushing or gardening or some kind of washing purposes. If we can meet both the rainwater and the gray water, if we're able to use it very efficiently, we can actually thrive only by these two sources. We don't need any other supply of water.
When we are speaking about sustainability, what are the common misconceptions about sustainability that you have encountered, and how you have tried to address those misconceptions?
What is sustainable is also on a long run or in a different paradigm, financially also sustainable, which we need to communicate properly. And we also things true cost or the true value must reflect on our resources. Sustainability also give you one is it's definitely not expensive. It may not be cheap, but it is not expensive. Second is there is a pure joy in being sustainable. Like you know that you are less dependent on the grid, or your footprint or your weight on the environment is slightly lesser. And third is you have more control over both input and output of the resource or the product. So which gives that amount of leverage to be a little more comfortable in using that. To actually sum it up, there are two challenges. One is it's not my job. Why should I even be bothered? But I would say that okay, it's financially not a burden on you, though I would not say it is cheap as well. And at the same time, the quality of the resources what you're using is far better. So these are the 2 points that actually I tend to put. And third is, of course, you do your bit for the environment. None of us can be net positive or net zero or whatever, but we can be, our impact can reduce to a large extent.
What role does entrepreneurs play in advancing decentralized energy, water, and food sectors?
If we have to have solutions, whatever solution it may be, sustainability or non-sustainability is a different thing. Anything which can actually work on the ground needs a very sound implementation model or entrepreneurial model. For example, we all go by washing machine, we all go by fridge and TV and laptop and whatnot because we are confident about the product, right? But it is not the same case with a composter or a rainwater harvesting unit or a grey water unit. We don't get anything off the shelf because the entrepreneurial model around this, it is not evolved to that extent. Or to put in other words, sustainability must become a default choice. So how that can become a default choice? By only driving it in an entrepreneurial model. And what is actually an entrepreneurial model? You see, end of the day, even the entrepreneur must feel motivated. So what is the source of motivation? Your passion is to some extent can be your motivation, but to a large extent you need to be profitable. So there is a monetary angle to that. There's a commercial angle to that. So once it is sold in a commercial transaction, the entrepreneur is also accountable. At the same time, a sound, sustainable, well-engineered product or solution is delivered to the end user. And that way things can take up faster is what I think is the way to go.
Moving on to the next question, what impact has Hinren Engineering had in promoting sustainable practices in the communities you serve? And how do you measure the success and effectiveness of your sustainable practices?
Well, in terms of impact, see, we don't really have a real way of measuring our impact, but our customer base is growing slowly year on year. That's one real plus point for us. And the good plus point part is that nobody really comes back with any negative remark. Most of our customers are happy. Almost 95% of our projects, which even implement like 10 years back, 12 years back, are working fine. We keep checking on few of them so to get a hang of things. There's a definite linear increase in customer interested in the kind of solutions that we are actually trying to do. And we are also having people do acknowledge, if not practice, at least the acknowledgement percentage has substantially increased over the years. We are also a part of the bandwagon, but our impact is small, but we are also growing slowly.
Getting satisfied customers, it's also a big achievement in itself.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the significant challenges you have faced in your journey, and how have you overcome them, and who or what has been your biggest influencer in your pursuit of sustainable and decentralized energy and other sustainable solutions that are there?
Challenges have always been in terms of how do you convince people, like, how do you make people understand that this is good to do or good to have, and why they have to do. And the other biggest challenge is a lot of people, almost I meet so many people every day. Everybody just tend to understand. They also tend to connect with the idea. But as an entrepreneur or even from the business perspective, we need to create a solution where it is minimum impact on them in terms of usage. So our challenge has been also to develop that kind of a solution where it's easy for the end user to adopt. So with minimum impact. So we are over the course of years trying to engineer, re-engineer, fine-tune the solution so that it's more and more easy for people to adopt. Whether we are completely successful, it's subjective, but we are definitely, we have, from how we started to how we are now, we have tremendously improved in terms of our solutions.
So finally, what message you would like to share with our audience and about the impact of sustainable living and how they can contribute to this movement?
My only request or my only prayer to people is, start with something. Don't tell that it is somebody else's job. And when we do something, we have also a right to talk, right? When we can demand from government, okay, we are doing so much, can you do something else? But we keep saying it's the job of the government. See, government cannot. The problem is colossal. The problem is really very big. Government alone cannot solve these kind of problems. All of us need to be a part of the solution.
So it was very nice talking with you and interacting with you and understanding the simple concept of sustainability and the work that you are doing and the impact that you are creating. It was really nice, and we wish you a best, and we thank you for coming on this podcast and giving us your valuable time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Very nice talking to you. Thank you.